Lesson 6. Giving presentations in English. Have you ever given a presentation in English? If you have, you know it can be quite difficult to think of the right words with the pressure of everyone watching. Don't worry, because in this lesson you'll learn a number of English phrases that will help your presentation sound polished and professional. Introduction. At the beginning of your presentation, it's good to do 4 things. Introduce yourself, introduce your topic, give a summary or overview, and tell the audience how you will handle questions. To introduce yourself, say your name, what company you work for, and/or what your specific job is. For example, good afternoon. My name is Shana and I'm the marketing director at ABC English School. You can say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time of day it is. Do not say good night, because that is a phrase used to say goodbye. Then you can tell the audience what your general topic is. Here are 2 phrases you can use. You can complete these phrases by simply saying the name of your presentation. My topic today is... Today I'd like to talk to you about... It's always a good idea to give the audience a summary or overview of your presentation. This means you quickly tell them the main points. Let me quickly take you through today's presentation. Let me give you an overview of the presentation. First, I'm going to talk about. After that, we'll be taking a look at. Then we'll consider. Finally, I'll explain. You can mix and match the phrases. For example, you can say, first we'll consider, or first I'll explain. The phrases after that and then are used to move to the next topic, and the word finally is used for describing the last topic in your presentation. Next, tell the audience if you want people to ask you questions in the middle of the presentation or only at the end. Here's a phrase for each one. Please feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. I'll leave some time for questions at the end of the presentation. Making transitions between topics. To begin the first topic, you can use these phrases. I'd like to start by showing you some data. Let's begin by looking at the project's history. In this context, the words start and begin are the same. Notice that after the word by, we use a verb in the ing form. As an alternative, you can use with and a noun or noun phrase. For example, I'd like to start with some data. Let's begin with the project's history. To transition to another topic, you can use these phrases. Now we'll move on to. Now let's look at. Now I'd like to discuss. Now let me turn to. You'll notice that all of them begin with the word now. This is a signal to your audience that you're introducing a new topic. Referring to slides or graphics. If you're giving a PowerPoint presentation, you'll want to refer to the slides, which can show pictures, maps, graphs, charts, tables, etc. Here are some phrases you can use. This slide shows a map of the area in which we plan to expand. Looking at this slide, we can see that the number of accidents has decreased significantly in the past year. As you can see from this slide, sales are gradually increasing among customers aged 18 to 24. In the next lesson, you'll learn more about how to describe numbers, trends, and statistics. Talking about cause and effect. One important element of your presentation is making logical connections between your ideas, especially cause and effect. The cause happens first, and the effect is the result. For example, if it is raining and a baseball game is canceled, the rain is the cause and the cancellation is the effect. Phrases to describe causes. The main reason is, since, as, because of. The difference is that because is followed by a subject and verb, and because of is followed by a noun. The game was canceled because it was raining. The game was canceled because of the rain. Phrases to describe effects. Therefore, consequently, as a result, so. The words therefore, consequently, and as a result are typically used at the beginning of a sentence, whereas the word so is typically used in the middle of a sentence. Rephrasing or correcting. What do you do if you say something incorrect or confusing during your presentation? First, don't panic. Native English speakers make mistakes during presentations too, so it's not the end of the world. Then, use one of these phrases to get back on track. Phrases for saying something again using different words. Let me put that another way. Let me rephrase that. In other words, phrases for correcting a mistake. I'm sorry, that's not correct. We've hired 15 new employees, not 50. Excuse me, and correction with emphasis. For example, the school was founded in 1989. Conclusion. At the end of your presentation, you can give a brief summary of your main points or the most important message. Here are some phrases for that. In conclusion, finally, let me remind you what we've covered. Let me briefly sum up the main points. As your final phrase, you can say, "Thank you very much for your attention." Questions. To inform the audience that you are ready to answer questions, you can say, "Does anyone have any questions?" I'd now like to open it up for questions. If you didn't hear the person's question, you can say, "I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Would you mind repeating it?" If you didn't understand the question, you can say, "I'm sorry, I don't quite understand your question. Would you mind rephrasing it?" The expressions "I'm sorry" and "would you mind" are included for politeness. If the question requires information that you don't have at the moment, but that you could find out later, you can say this: "That's an interesting question. I don't actually know off the top of my head, but I'll try to get back to you later with an answer." If you can't answer the question, but someone else can, then say, "Unfortunately, I'm not the best person to answer that, but I can put you in touch with a colleague of mine." Finally, if the answer to the question will be very long, you can say, "I'm afraid that would take a long time to explain, but perhaps you and I can talk about it more in depth afterwards." This means that you don't want to answer the question immediately, but you are willing to talk to the person about it after the presentation. You've finished Lesson 6. Try the quiz to test your vocabulary and log in tomorrow for Lesson 7. We'll go into more detail about how to talk about numbers, statistics, and trends.